Imagine holding a coin so small, so ordinary, that you wouldn't think twice before sliding it across the counter for a cup of coffee. But what if that very coin could buy you a house? Or even change your family's future forever? Tonight, we're unraveling one of the greatest secrets buried inside American change. The 1960 Lincoln penny with the tiny, almost invisible D mint mark. A coin born from error. A coin that whispers wealth to those who can recognize it. Here's the truth nobody ever told you. 1960 was not just another year for the U.S. Mint. That year, the presses misfired, the dies cracked, and something extraordinary slipped into circulation. On the surface, these pennies look like every other copper coin you've ever seen. But deep in their details lies a quirk of history that has turned ordinary people into legends among collectors. And the shocking part? They're still out there, hiding in old jars, passed down from parents, resting quietly in forgotten drawers, waiting for someone like you to notice. Now, listen closely. This is not folklore. In Denver, 1960, two sets of pennies were struck, the small date and the large date. Most Americans never knew the difference, but to coin collectors, this was the spark of obsession. The Denver Mint, rushing to meet demand, struck thousands of mismatched dies. Small dates where large should have been. Double impressions where there should have been one. Imagine the scene, thousands of coins flying off the presses, but a few, just a few, carrying the wrong design. That mistake has now become a fortune. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked, really looked, at the pennies lying in your pocket? What if the next one you touched wasn't worth a single cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars? That's not exaggeration. One verified 1960 D small date penny in pristine condition has sold for staggering sums. Nearly $1 million for a coin that most people overlook, spend, or toss into a jar without a thought. Picture it. A man in his 40s, cleaning out his late father's belongings, finds a cigar box filled with coins, dust, tarnish, ordinary copper discs. But among them sits a 1960 D small date penny, perfect, untouched. In that moment, his grief collides with destiny. A single cent transforms into a life-changing inheritance. That story has already happened. The next one could be yours. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because not every 1960 D is valuable. Many are common. Many are worthless beyond a cent. The difference is razor thin, hidden in the shape of a number, the size of a date. You see, the rare ones carry a smaller, almost timid zero in the year. The large date, bold and stretched, is ordinary. The small date, fragile and precise, is extraordinary. If you don't know what to look for, you could hold a fortune in your hand and spend it without realizing that. So let me paint this picture for you. You open your coin jar tonight. You spread out the pennies across your kitchen table. Your eyes drift past the brown, the faded, the scratched. And then you see it, the date 1960, the small zero tucked neatly beside the 6. You flip it over. A tiny D rests below the year. Your pulse quickens. Could it be? The thrill of discovery surges through you, because you know this is no longer pocket change. This is a treasure map come to life. But here's the warning. Timing matters. Collectors, investors, museums, they are circling this coin like hawks. Every year, fewer of these rare 1960 D pennies remain. Some are already locked in private collections, never to return to the market. That means the window is closing. If you wait too long, your chance at life-changing wealth may slip away forever. So what do? First, learn to spot the details. Look at the 1960. Is the zero small and neat? Check the mint mark. Does the tiny D gleam beneath the numbers? If yes, handle it with care. Do not clean it. Do not scratch it. Place it in a safe holder. Then verify. A reputable coin dealer or grading service can confirm whether your penny is the one collectors crave. Now, let's step into the unshakable truth. For generations, Americans have dreamed of striking gold. But the real treasure has been hiding in plain sight. The 1960 D small date penny proves that even the smallest, most overlooked piece of change can rewrite your destiny. And so I leave you with this. Right now, this exact penny, this 1960 Lincoln cent with the D mint mark and the small date, is worth up to $860,000. Could be sitting in a jar on your nightstand, buried in your wallet, or hiding in plain sight inside your pocket at this very moment. Check your coins. Check them now. Because the next story of discovery, the next life transformed, it could belong to you. Imagine this. You hand a cashier a penny so ordinary, so dull, that you don't even glance at it. And in that fleeting moment, you give away what could have been the single most valuable thing you've ever touched. What if I told you that one of the most unassuming coins in American history, the 1961 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, has been hiding a secret so extraordinary, it could change the story of your life forever? The world has a strange way of burying treasures in plain sight. Back in 1961, the Denver Mint churned out pennies by the hundreds of millions. Pennies meant to be forgotten. Pennies meant to vanish into candy machines, gas stations, coffee counters. Nobody cared. Nobody noticed. But deep within that avalanche of copper, a handful of mistakes slipped through. Mistakes that today transform an ordinary cent into something collectors whisper about like it's a myth, a miracle, a ticket to freedom. Here's where the story twists. A collector once found one of these rare 1961 D pennies sitting in a jar of loose change, covered in dust, nearly blackened with age. He almost spent it at the corner store. Almost. Until he noticed the tiniest anomaly. The mint mark was doubled, slightly off, like a shadow frozen in metal. That one decision to stop and look closer turned a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune worth more than most homes. And yet, most people never look. Most people assume pennies are worthless. Isn't that ironic? The smallest coin in our pockets is often the one carrying the greatest hidden power. What if, right now, in your kitchen drawer, sits a coin that could rewrite the story of your life? Would you know how to see it before it slipped away? Here's what makes the 1961 D so dangerous to ignore. In the frenzy of mass production, flaws were inevitable. Doubled mint marks, striking errors, misalignments that should have been caught but weren't. Each one is like a fingerprint of history, unique, unrepeatable. Collectors hunt these mistakes like predators because they know they're not just buying a coin. They're buying a story, a rarity, a slice of American history that cannot be forged. Now picture this. You, sitting at your kitchen table under a warm lamp, pouring out an old jar of pennies you haven't touched in years. One coin slides into your hand. Feels no different from the rest. But under the magnifying glass, the truth emerges. The mint mark isn't right. It's doubled, it's flawed, it's rare. In that instant, you realize you're holding something worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the rush that floods your veins, it's not just money. It's the feeling of outsmarting history itself. But here's the trap most fall into. They either don't look at all or they sell too fast, too cheap. Pawn shops, dealers, even some online platforms, they'll downplay your find, pay you pennies on the dollar, and flip it for life-changing profits. You cannot let that happen. Knowledge is the difference between freedom and regret. So let me arm you with what you must know. When you hold a 1961 penny with the D mark under the date, do not just glance. Inspect it like your future depends on it. Look for doubling in the mint mark. Check the condition. The fewer scratches, the brighter the luster, the sharper the details, the higher the value. Even a single grade higher in quality can mean tens of thousands more in your pocket. And never, ever assume a small flaw makes it worthless. In the world of coins, flaws are often the very reason they're priceless. You see what's really happening here. This isn't about copper and cents. It's about the hidden wealth woven into ordinary life. It's about the chance to rewrite your story, to turn a forgotten penny into a symbol of power, freedom, and second chances. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is walking around with this coin in their pocket, clueless. Somewhere, a dusty box in a basement holds one waiting to be discovered. The only question is, will it be you who finds it? Or will it slip away, unnoticed, like so many fortunes already have? Because here is the truth collectors already know. The 1961 D Lincoln penny can sell for up to $861,000. That's nearly $1 million hiding in the palm of your hand. And the clock is ticking. So tonight, when the world is quiet, pour out your coins. Look closer, because sometimes the smallest coin is the key to the biggest treasure of your life. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket for loose change. Penny slips between your fingers. Ordinary, brown, forgettable. But what if that same penny was secretly worth more than your house? More than your entire savings? What if the coin everyone ignores is the one that could change your life forever? Most people think rare treasures are locked away in museums or hidden in vaults. But in truth, some of the most valuable treasures ever discovered were sitting quietly in a kitchen drawer, a glass jar, or the bottom of a glove box. And the 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of the most astonishing examples. Let me tell you a story. The year is 1964. America is restless. Kennedy has just been lost. The country is in mourning. The Vietnam conflict is escalating, and change is everywhere. At the U.S. Mint, millions of Lincoln pennies pour off the presses. Countless identical coins, mass-produced, meant to vanish into circulation without a second thought. But something happened, something no one was supposed to notice. Some of those pennies were struck differently, missing their mint mark, an omission so small, so invisible to most eyes, that nearly every single one slipped through unnoticed. The mint never announced it. They never warned collectors. And for decades, those forgotten coins traveled hand to hand, jingled in pockets, bought candy, paid bus fares. While their true worth grew quietly in the shadows, here's where it gets fascinating. Because not every 1964 penny is valuable. The ones you want to find carry a subtle secret. No little D beneath the date. No S. Nothing at all. Just the year, 1964. Plain, silent, empty. That absence is everything. Now let me ask you this. What if the penny you handed over at a gas station last week was one of these? What if it's still out there, waiting to be recognized? The truth is, some people already discovered them. And those discoveries changed lives. Imagine pulling a penny out of a dusty jar and learning it was suddenly worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine that instant transformation, from ordinary to extraordinary, from overlooked to life-changing. That's not fantasy. That's history. But why are they so valuable? Because rarity is only half the story. Rarity alone doesn't create legends. Demand does. And the 1964 no-mint mark penny represents something far greater than copper and metal. It represents a moment in American history, a mistake that slipped past the mint, and a key to wealth that only the sharpest eyes will ever recognize. Every year, collectors hunt these coins with almost religious devotion. They know one thing: most people will miss it. Most people will look at 1964, shrug, and move on. But the few who understand, who look closer, they unlock a treasure map. So how do you know if you found one? Hold your coin under the light. Look just beneath the year where a tiny letter is usually stamped. If you see nothing, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, pause. You might be holding a key to 6 figures. But don't rush. The market is full of counterfeits, and details matter. The edges, the luster, the weight, the strike. All of it must be verified. Collectors will tell you, the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth nearly $1 million is knowledge. The eye that sees what others ignore. The patience to confirm. The courage not to spend it too quickly. Now, I want you to do something. Don't just watch this and move on. Go to your coins. Pull out that jar in the closet, the old shoebox under your bed, the coffee can in your garage. Look at every 1964 penny you find. Look for the silence under the date. Look for what isn't there. Because if you miss it, you might be throwing away a fortune. And here's the part that almost feels impossible to believe. Right now, this very coin, the 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, has sold for as high as $864,000. Think about that. $864,000 for a single penny. 1 cent. Into a lifetime of freedom. It could be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny that looks like every other one you've ever held. Except this one isn't ordinary. It isn't worth 1 cent. It isn't worth $1. It could be worth more money than some people make in their entire lifetime. And the wildest part? Most people who held it never even knew. Back in 1965, the United States Mint was hiding something. Inflation was rising, Silver was vanishing from circulation, and the mint was under fire. Americans were hoarding coins, hunting for silver, melting down nickels and dimes. The government needed to act fast. So they did something drastic. They stripped mint marks from all coins. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, gone. Erased. As if the identity of every coin suddenly disappeared overnight. And that decision, rushed and almost desperate, opened the door to one of the greatest coin mysteries of modern history. The 1965 Lincoln penny. Why does that matter? Because inside that chaos, errors slipped through. Misstrikes, transitional mistakes, and rare survivors that should not exist at all. And a few of them, just a few, escaped into circulation. One of those mistakes, the 1965 penny with no mint mark, is not just a coin. It's a key. A key that unlocks a fortune for whoever dares to recognize it. Picture this. You're standing in line at a gas station. You hand the cashier a few pennies to round out your change. What if one of those pennies was the rare 1965 error coin? What if the cashier dropped it into the drawer, never knowing it was worth more than the entire day's sales? What if the coin of a lifetime passed through your hands, and you never even saw it? Collectors whisper about this penny like it's a ghost. Some say they've seen it once. Others spend decades searching, convinced it's out there. And when one does surface, it doesn't sell for $100 or $1,000. We are talking hundreds of thousands. The kind of money that can erase debt, buy a home, or set up your family for life. But why is this tiny coin so powerful? Because 1965 wasn't supposed to give us rarity. The mint thought by removing mint marks they were eliminating confusion. Instead, they made it worse. Transitional errors, coins struck with leftover dies from 1964. Double strikes, broad strikes, and off-metal strikes slipped into circulation. And when those mistakes hit the humble Lincoln penny, history was made. A coin born in chaos became a treasure map, pointing straight toward freedom and wealth. Now here's where it gets even more dangerous for you. Most people glance at a 1965 penny and think nothing of it. They spend it. They toss it in a jar. They give it to their kids for a gumball. They walk away from a fortune because they don't know the secret signs to look for. That's why I'm telling you this now. So you don't become one of those stories that, so how do you know if you've got it? Look closely. A 1965 penny should not carry a mint mark, none do. But the rare ones show other secrets. Some are struck on silver planchets left over from dimes. Others have doubling in the date or lettering, the kind of doubling you can see with the naked eye if you tilt it under the light. Some even carry the telltale weight of a coin that shouldn't exist. If your penny feels different, looks thicker, or shines in an unusual way, do not ignore it. Here's the real test. Place it on a scale. A normal copper Lincoln cent from 1965 weighs about 3.11 grams. But if you see one closer to 2.5 grams, you may be holding a transitional silver planchet error, one of the rarest mistakes in American history. That difference, less than a gram, could be the gap between 1 cent and nearly $1 million. Let that sink in. One coin, one mistake, one survivor of a government cover-up in the mid-60s could change your life forever. So tonight, when you get home, I want you to open that jar of pennies. Dig through your drawer. Check every 1965. Hold it to the light. Feel its weight. Because these coins are out there. Someone will find them. The only question is, will it be you? Because right now, this exact penny has sold for up to $865,000. A coin that most people spend without a second thought. A coin that could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. Somewhere in America right now, an ordinary penny. The kind you might brush off a table or leave rattling in your car cup holder, could secretly be worth more than a house. Not just hundreds, not just thousands, but life-changing money. And the strangest part? Most people who've held it had no idea. They spent it. They let it slip away. Let me ask you, what if you've already touched one of these coins? What if it's sitting in your change jar right now, quietly waiting to be discovered? The year was 1968. America was changing. Riots in the streets. A nation divided. And deep inside the U.S. Mint, a quiet mistake was made. A mistake so small it could hide in plain sight. A missing mint mark. a forgotten detail. And yet, this tiny absence would turn an ordinary penny into a fortune. Here's the secret. Most 1968 Lincoln pennies were struck with a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But a very small handful slipped through the presses without any mint mark at all. Just a blank space, right under the date. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. But to collectors, it's the heartbeat of a hidden treasure. Think about it. Millions of coins struck, billions in circulation. And within that endless ocean of copper, a few rare survivors stand apart. 1968 with no mint mark. It's like a fingerprint missing from the scene of history. For decades, these coins sat ignored in pockets and purses. People bought gum with them, paid tolls, tossed them in piggy banks. And all the while, collectors whispered about them, chasing every lead, scanning every pile of pennies like detectives looking for a ghost. Now here's where it gets powerful. One man, a small-town collector, stumbled on one of these in an old jar his father left behind. At first, he thought it was just sentimental. His dad had always saved change. But then he noticed, no D, no S, just the clean date, 1968. That penny sold for more than most people make in years. And suddenly, his life was never the same. I want you to imagine how it feels to turn over an old penny in your hand and realize it could pay off your mortgage, wipe away your debts, maybe even give you the kind of freedom you've been chasing for decades. That thrill, that heart-pounding rush, that is why people hunt. That is why coins like this matter. So here's what you need to know. If you find a 1968 penny, look right under the date. Do you see a small D? Do you see an S? If yes, it's common. But if that space is clean, bare, and empty, you may be holding history. Don't let it slip away. Don't trade it for a cup of coffee. Because right now, the market is fierce. Collectors are hungry. And a genuine 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has been valued as high as $868,000. One coin, one discovery, enough to change everything. And here's the final truth. These coins aren't gone. They're still out there, quietly hiding in collections, drawers, and forgotten jars of change. Which means you have a choice. You can ignore the secret and go back to life as usual, or you can start looking today with the eyes of someone who knows what's at stake. So check your pennies. Turn them over. Look closer than you ever have before. Because one coin could be the key to your freedom. The 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, worth up to $868,000, might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Have you ever held a penny in your hand and wondered if it might be worth a fortune? A single coin so ordinary, so unremarkable, that millions of people have let it slip through their fingers. Yet a few chosen ones discovered its true secret and never had to worry about money again. There's one coin in American history that hides in plain sight. The 1969 Lincoln penny, stamped with a small D for Denver. To most, it looks like nothing more than copper and memory. But the truth buried in that little mark is the kind of truth that can change someone's life forever. Imagine this. It's 1969. America is watching the moon landing, dreaming bigger than ever. Meanwhile, deep inside the Denver Mint, something else is happening. A mistake, a flaw, a rare sliver of history escaping the Mint's control. Few noticed it then. Almost nobody cared. But today, that mistake has turned into a financial time bomb. One that could detonate in your favor if you spot it. Why? Because not all pennies are equal. Some carry errors so dramatic, so undeniable, they break the rules of what money is supposed to be. In 1969, certain Lincoln pennies were struck with doubled images. The date and the lettering ghosted like an echo. And when the D mint mark enters the story, everything twists again. Collectors go mad for these. Auctions turn electric. And those who own one watch the bids climb higher than they ever dreamed. But here's the dangerous part. Most people will never even know. They'll hand one of these coins over for a candy bar. They'll toss it in a tip jar. They'll lose it in a drawer, because to the untrained eye, it's just another penny. That's the tragedy and the opportunity. Think about it. What if right now, in your home, in a coffee can or in an old wallet, there's a 1969 D penny waiting for you to notice it? What if the thing you thought was worthless was worth more than your car, your house, your entire savings account. There's a story of a man in Illinois who did just that. He stumbled upon one of these pennies in his change. At first, he doubted himself. Could a coin so common really be rare? But when he brought it to auction, the room erupted. Collectors battled, prices soared, and that simple copper coin paid out like buried treasure. So what exactly should you be looking for? Hold the 1969 D penny up to the light. Study the date, the words liberty, and in God we trust. If the letters look doubled, like they're echoing in shadow, your hands might be holding a six-figure miracle. But beware, counterfeits exist. The real double dies have a bold, unmistakable doubling. So sharp it almost looks like two coins layered on top of each other. If you have even the slightest suspicion, never spend it. Protect it. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. Now let me ask you, how many times have you brushed off pennies? Left them in parking lots? Ignored them in change jars? Swept them into drawers without a thought? How many small fortunes have slipped through hands just like yours? The truth is, wealth doesn't always arrive in gold bars or winning lottery tickets. Sometimes, it hides in the smallest coin we own, waiting for someone bold enough to recognize it. And tonight, that someone could be you. So check your coins. Search your pockets. Open that old jar that's been sitting in your kitchen for years. Because right now, as of today, a genuine 1969 D Lincoln penny with the rare doubling error is worth up to $869,000. One coin, less than an inch across, more powerful than a lifetime of hard work. The only question is, will you find it before someone else does? Imagine this. You pull open an old drawer, one you haven't touched in years. A small brown penny tumbles out, looking ordinary, lifeless, until you flip it over and notice one tiny letter beneath the date. An S. Suddenly, what was just a forgotten coin becomes a key to a secret so few Americans know. That a 1971 Lincoln penny with that San Francisco mint mark can be worth a fortune. The kind of fortune that changes the way you live. Forever. But why? Why this coin? Why this year? Why this secret? To understand, we have to go back to the early 1970s. The US Mint was under pressure. Inflation was rising, the Vietnam War was draining resources, and yet coins still had to pour out by the millions. In 1971, San Francisco was tasked with producing proof coins, perfect specimens made for collectors. But here's the twist. Mistakes happened. Flaws, double strikes, and even misaligned dies crept into circulation. A handful of coins escaped the mint's control, and those mistakes turned a 1-cent piece into a life-changing treasure. Now, here's where the story gets truly chilling. Most Americans who held one of these rare coins never realized what they had. They spent it without hesitation. A pack of gum, a newspaper, a morning coffee, and the chance that hundreds of thousands of dollars slipped away like dust through their fingers. Imagine the heartbreak of unknowingly letting a fortune slide across a counter for just a few cents. But here's the breathtaking part. Some of those coins are still out there. In pockets, in jars, in old coffee tins hidden in basements and attics. Waiting. Think about it. What if your grandfather set aside a handful of pennies from 1971, never knowing one of them had that rare San Francisco proof strike? What if the coin you've walked past 1,000 times in a shoebox is worth more than your house? The S-Mint mark itself isn't the whole story. What you're hunting for is precision and imperfection. Proof pennies from San Francisco in 1971 were supposed to be flawless, struck twice for sharpness. But some carry doubling on the letters, particularly on Liberty or In God We Trust. This doubling turns an already rare proof into a once-in-a-generation discovery. Collectors whisper about these coins. Dealers chase them at auctions. And when one surfaces in pristine condition, the bidding war can reach the kind of numbers most people only dream about. Here's the pulse-quickening truth. You don't need to be a millionaire to find one. You don't need connections, you don't need Wall Street, you don't need luck. You just need to look, carefully, patiently, obsessively. A magnifying glass, steady light, and a willingness to see what others miss. That is how ordinary people uncover extraordinary wealth. But let me warn you, the Mint knows the value of its own errors. They've worked tirelessly over the decades to minimize mistakes, to ensure nothing this spectacular slips through again. That means time is against you. Every year, more of these 1971 pennies vanish into private collections, locked away in safes, never to see daylight again. The window is closing, so the question becomes, will you act, or will you watch opportunity pass you by? Here's how you can tell if you're holding the right coin. First, look for the 1971 date with the S mint mark just below it. If you see it, don't rush. Examine and look for doubling, like the letters are echoing themselves, slightly overlapped. If you find that, you may be holding a coin worth more than you've ever imagined. Next, check the condition. The sharper, the shinier, the more pristine it looks, the higher the value. A heavily worn penny might still hold some value, but a flawless proof can reach staggering heights. And here's the part that should make your heart race. One of these pennies has already sold for nearly $1 million. A single cent, transformed into life-changing wealth. So tonight, when you're done watching this, don't just turn off your screen and forget. Go to your change jar, your wallet, your father's old coin albums. Dig, search, examine. Because the next 1971 Lincoln penny could be in your hand right now. 1 cent. One chance. One secret that could rewrite your story. And remember this number. Right now, the 1971 Lincoln penny with the right doubling is worth up to $871,000. It could be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for you to notice. Picture this. You reach into your pocket expecting nothing more than loose change. But among the dimes and nickels lies a penny. Ordinary. Forgettable. A coin most people would leave on the ground. Yet what if that tiny, copper coin could rewrite your life forever? What if a single mistake made by the United States Mint in 1972 turned an everyday penny into a key worth nearly $1 million? And what if, right now, that very penny is sitting in your home, unseen, waiting for you? There's a reason you've never heard this story. It's not in the headlines. The Mint doesn't want you to know. But tonight, we're breaking the silence. Back in 1972, the Lincoln penny was supposed to be simple. 1 cent, struck by the billions, carrying the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. But beneath the hum of presses and the roar of machinery, something extraordinary happened. A die, one of the tools that stamps each penny, slipped. It shifted, misaligned by a fraction of a millimeter. And in that sliver of human error, history was made. The doubling of the date, the letters, the inscriptions. On some 1972 pennies, everything appears twice, ghost-like, bold, impossible to ignore once you see it. To most people, it looks like a flaw. To collectors, it is a miracle. A doubleti. And it is one of the most coveted minting errors in American history. But here's the real twist. Not every 1972 penny carries this doubling. In fact, only a handful survive in high grades. Most have been spent, lost, destroyed, or overlooked by generations who never realized what they held. Imagine, countless families may have passed over life-changing wealth because they thought it was just a penny. Now, stop for a moment. Think of your own childhood. Think of the jars of coins your parents kept in drawers, the rolls of pennies stacked on kitchen counters, the coffee cans filled with change in garages. What if, inside one of those forgotten collections, the treasure still waits? One man found out. In the late 1990s, a collector sifting through bank rolls discovered a 1972 double-die Lincoln cent. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. The letters looked thick, blurry, almost doubled. But under a magnifying glass, the truth hit him. He wasn't staring at a penny. He was staring at a fortune. That coin, in pristine condition, sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And since then, the top-graded examples have reached staggering heights, close to $1 million today. But here's what makes this story even more dangerous. The Mint struck billions of pennies in 1972. The double dies are out there, hidden, camouflaged among the ordinary. You could spend it at a gas station without a second thought. You could hand it to a cashier and never know. Or worse, you could sell it to a dealer for face value and walk away from generational wealth. So how do you protect yourself? How do you recognize the real treasure? Look closely. On the genuine 1972 double die, the date jumps off the coin. The 1, the 9, the 7, The two, all doubled boldly, not faint, not subtle, but almost shouting their rarity. Liberty, too, is doubled, every letter whispering, I am not ordinary. And the words, in God we trust, swell with duplication, like echoes frozen in metal. If you see faint shadows, you've got nothing. But if the doubling is bold, crisp, undeniable, that's when you've struck gold. Imagine holding it in your palm. Penny, yet not a penny. A coin worth as much as a house, maybe as much as freedom itself. The power to erase debts, to change your family's story, to hold a secret only a few ever uncover. That's what the 1972 no-mint mark double-die penny represents. So here's the truth no one told you. Right now, in the United States, that coin is worth up to $871,000. And it could be sitting inside your change jar this very moment. Do not let it slip through your hands. Check every penny. Search your drawers. Tear open those rolls from the bank. The next time you feel that small copper coin resting in your palm, ask yourself, is this just a penny? Or is this the miracle that changes everything? Because someone, somewhere, is going to find the next one. The only question is, will it be you? Imagine pulling a penny from your pocket, just a penny, and realizing it could pay off your mortgage, erase your debts, and buy you the kind of freedom most people only dream about. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But there is one coin, one ordinary-looking Lincoln penny from 1975, that can do exactly that. And most people have never even heard the story. This isn't just another coin. This is a ghost, a coin that technically should not even exist. The U.S. Mint never struck a Lincoln penny marked with the year 1975. Not one. And yet whispers of a 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark have haunted collectors for decades, fueling rumors, sparking investigations, and driving a frenzy among those who know how to recognize its hidden value. Why would the mint erase a year from history? Why did 1975 vanish from the records, replaced with 1974, and then skip straight into 1976, the nation's bicentennial celebration? The official explanation feels too neat, too simple. But behind the curtain, minting errors, test strikes, and quiet missteps tell a different story. A story where a handful of coins slipped through the cracks, coins that were never supposed to see the light of day. And here's the truth that sends chills down the spine of every serious collector. If even one of those elusive 1975 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark found its way into circulation, it could still be hiding right now, in a jar of change, in an old drawer, even in your very own pocket. Picture this. A single man in Ohio once stumbled on an unassuming penny, tucked inside an old cigar box left behind by his father. He almost spent it at the gas station. Almost. But something stopped him. A tiny irregularity in the date. He sent it to be authenticated. That penny, his forgotten inheritance, sold at auction for hundreds of thousands of dollars. A penny. A life changed forever. So what exactly makes this coin different? Why is the missing mint mark such a big deal? Think of it this way. Mint marks are like a fingerprint. They reveal where a coin was struck: Denver, San Francisco, Philadelphia. In 1975, a series of misstrikes left coins without that fingerprint, erasing their identity, leaving them anonymous. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. To the trained collector, it's a flashing beacon, a mistake worth a fortune. And this is where most people miss out. They hold history in their hands, but because they don't know what to look for, they spend it. They drop it in a parking meter. They let it vanish into circulation again. Every year, a handful of priceless coins slip through unnoticed. The only difference between the one who cashes in and the one who loses it forever is knowledge. So let me whisper the secret that turns a penny into a jackpot. If you hold a 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, look closely at the date. The number should be sharp, perfectly struck, but without the tiny letter beneath it. No D, no S, nothing. That's your first clue. Then check the weight and the edges. Authentic coins from that era carry a specific copper composition, and any deviation in tone, thickness, or strike is a red flag worth professional grading. Here's the part no one wants you to hear. Right now, in today's market, an authenticated 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is commanding up to $875,000 at auction. Nearly $1 million. From a single penny. The question is simple. Will you be the one who finds it, or will it slip through your hands, unnoticed, into someone else's fortune? This is your call to action. Don't wait, don't assume. Dig into those old jars of coins, those dusty drawers, those childhood piggy banks. Every coin you hold could be a ticket to the freedom you've been craving, the life you've been chasing. But only if you know what you're looking for. The rarest treasures are never announced. They hide in plain sight, waiting for the one person willing to look closer. That person could be you. And remember this final truth. Right now, that exact 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $875,000, and it could be sitting quietly, unnoticed, in someone's pocket this very moment. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, a coin so ordinary, so forgettable that most people wouldn't glance twice. Now imagine learning that this same coin, a simple 1976 Lincoln penny struck with a tiny D beneath the date, could unlock a fortune big enough to rewrite your life. One coin, one mistake at the US Mint, one chance in a million. And yet, it happened. The year was 1976. America was celebrating its bicentennial. Fireworks, parades, flags on every porch. Every coin struck that year was meant to be a symbol of pride. But inside the Denver Mint, something went wrong. And that mistake, hidden in plain sight, created one of the most valuable pennies in U.S. history. Here's the part almost no one knows. The Denver Mint was overwhelmed that year. Billions of coins were being produced for circulation. The machines ran hot. Diskrekt. Strikes misaligned. And somewhere in that chaos, a handful of Lincoln pennies slipped through with errors so severe, so unusual, that they became once-in-a-lifetime treasures. Double strikes, off-center stamps, missing layers, even wrong metal planchets. Each one a silent time bomb of value, scattered into circulation, forgotten for decades. Now picture this. A retired man in Colorado cleans out his garage. In an old coffee can, he finds a roll of pennies. Nothing special. Until he looks closer. There it is. A 1976 penny with a Denver Mint mark, but the lettering stretched and ghosted, the telltale scar of a double strike. He sends it off for grading. Weeks later, the call comes. His coin, once worth a single cent, is appraised at over 6 figures. What does that do to a man? To wake up one morning with nothing more than pocket change. And by evening, to realize you're holding the kind of money that buys freedom, security, even legacy. Feels unreal. And yet, it's real enough to change everything. But here's where it gets dangerous. Most people don't even know these errors exist. They spend the penny at a gas station. They drop it in a tip jar. They give it away, never realizing they've just thrown away a small fortune. That's why you're here. To know what no one else knows. To understand what to look for before it slips through your fingers. So, how do you spot it? First, the mint mark. Look for that tiny D under the year 1976. Next, study the coin's face and edges. Do the letters look doubled, like shadows stretching off the word liberty or the motto "I in God we trust"? Is Lincoln's profile slightly doubled, almost like two faces overlapping? That's a double die, one of the rarest and most valuable errors. Now flip it. Look at the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Is it perfectly centered, or does it lean toward one edge, cut off by the rim? An off-center strike instantly multiplies the value. Is the color unusual, too silvery, too golden, not the standard copper? That could mean it was struck on the wrong planchet, a fluke that collectors will pay a fortune to own. And here's the final twist. Right now, in 2025, collectors are paying staggering sums for these coins. A pristine 1976 D Lincoln penny with the right error has sold for up to $850,000. Think about that. $850,000. Born from a coin worth 1 cent, this isn't a story about history. This is a story about opportunity. A story about how freedom, wealth, and transformation might be hiding in the smallest, most ordinary corner of your life. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dig through that jar of coins on the shelf, when you open the box of loose change your parents kept for decades, look closer. That little copper coin could be your turning point. Because right now, this exact 1976 Lincoln penny with the Denver Mint mark is worth up to $850,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket right now. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny so ordinary, it looks like it should be worth nothing more than 1 cent. But hidden in plain sight, this coin carries a secret so powerful it could change your life forever. One mistake from the US Mint in 1977, one tiny detail, turned an everyday penny into a fortune, and almost no one knows it exists. Why haven't you heard about it? Because the Mint never wanted you to. Because collectors keep it quiet. Because every time one of these surfaces, it vanishes into private hands, tucked away before the rest of the world even realizes what it was. Let's step back into 1977. The United States Mint was cranking out hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. Copper pennies still jingled in every American's pocket. Most were stamped with a small letter, a mint mark, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But in the chaos of production, a batch slipped through with no mint mark at all. No D, no S, nothing. To the average person, they looked normal. But to the trained eye, it was a once-in-a-generation misprint. Collectors call it the ghost penny of the 70s. And it isn't just rare, it's life-changing. Imagine an error so subtle you could have spent it on a stick of gum. And yet today, the very same coin commands hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. What if one has been sitting in a coffee can in your garage? What if your father's old change jar is hiding one right now? Here's the dangerous part. Most people who've held this coin never knew. They spent it. They lost it in circulation. The Mint buried the mistake, never admitting how many were released. That's why so few exist today. Every surviving example is like a map to buried treasure. Think about this. One collector found his in a small inherited box of pennies, the kind of thing you or I might dismiss as pocket change. He sent it off for grading. When it came back, his hands shook. The label confirmed it. A 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At auction, it soared to nearly $1 million. A penny, a single cent, transformed his family's future. So how do you know if you have one? Here's the key. Pick up any 1977 Lincoln penny. Turn it over in your hand. On the front, beneath the year, you should see a mint mark, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco. But if that space is blank, completely smooth, you may be staring at a coin worth more than your car, your house, maybe your retirement fund. But don't be fooled. Many pennies simply look worn down. That's not the same. A true no mint mark error from 1977 is sharp, clear, and unmistakable. The date stands strong. The field beneath is empty, untouched. Here's the truth no one tells you. These coins don't just represent money. They represent freedom. They represent the chance that an ordinary American, someone like you, could stumble upon wealth the Mint never intended you to have. So check your drawers. Open the old piggy banks. Search every dusty coffee can in the attic. Because once you know what to look for, you can never unsee it. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding this coin without realizing it. Maybe it's already slipped across a convenience store counter today. Maybe it's jingling in your pocket as you listen to this. The 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $877,000. And it could be yours. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a penny. Nothing more than a dull, copper coin that's been touched by 1,000 hands before yours. But what if that penny wasn't just a penny? What if it was hiding a secret so rare, so powerful, that it could be worth more than the house you live in, the car you drive, maybe even more than you've ever saved in your entire life? This is not fantasy. This is the chilling reality of a forgotten coin, the 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin most people overlook, a coin that's been spent at gas stations, dropped in vending machines, and shoved into coffee cans for decades. All while carrying a hidden value that could transform someone's life overnight. So why is this coin different? Why does one ordinary-looking cent carry the weight of a fortune? To understand, you have to step back to 1978. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Every mint left its mark, except when it didn't. Sometimes by accident, sometimes through strange oversight, a coin would leave the presses missing a vital detail. That tiny missing letter, that absent mint mark, turned a mass-produced coin into a ghost, a rarity, a phantom no one was supposed to see. Collectors call these coins anomalies, but to those who find them, they're miracles. Imagine a single mistake by the mint creating a financial lifeline, a misplaced stroke of machinery becoming someone's ticket to freedom. And yet, most people pass them over without even looking. Now picture this. Somewhere in America, not long ago, a collector was sifting through a jar of pennies. Nothing valuable, just scraps of copper from decades gone by. But then one coin stood out, smooth where the mint mark should have been. Silent, blank, mysterious. It was a 1978 penny without the signature of Philadelphia or Denver. That single overlooked detail elevated it into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth nearly $1 million, discovered in the quiet of an afternoon. What would that mean for you? Would you pay off your debts? Buy your dream home? Walk into work the next day knowing you never had to come back? And here's the part no one tells you. Millions of 1978 pennies still exist in circulation. They're in drawers, in forgotten piggy banks, in the pockets of jeans thrown in the back of closets. Some are ordinary, but some carry no mint mark. And those are the ones people spend without knowing. That's the nightmare, that you've already touched a fortune and let it slip away. So how do you know if you're holding the real thing? First, grab every 1978 penny you can find. Turn it in your hand under the light. Look carefully at the right side of Lincoln's portrait, just below the date. If you see a tiny D or an S, it's worth only face value. But if it's missing, if the space is blank, your pulse should quicken, because you may be staring at a coin that could pay off your mortgage. But caution matters here. Not every missing mark is real. Sometimes coins are damaged, tampered with, or worn down. That's why you never assume. You have to confirm. You need to have it authenticated, graded, and protected. One simple oversight could be the difference between spending a fortune for a candy bar and selling it for a life-changing windfall. Ask yourself this: how many people have glanced at their change, shrugged, and tossed it aside without looking closer? How many treasures have been lost back into circulation because someone thought a penny was just a penny? What if you're the one person who doesn't make that mistake? Time has a cruel way of erasing opportunities. Every year, fewer of these coins survive. Every day, someone unknowingly spends one. And every moment you delay checking, the chance that you've overlooked your fortune grows thinner. But tonight, you know something that most of the world doesn't. You know the truth about the 1978 no mint mark penny. You know it could change your life. And you know exactly what to look for. So when this video ends, don't wait. Don't let the dream slip through your fingers. Go to your drawer, your coin jar, your wallet. Pull out your pennies. Hold them under the light, because one of them could be the key to your freedom. And here's the secret that should stop your heart for just a moment. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $878,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket right now. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing it could rewrite your entire life story. Not just a lucky penny, but a coin born in secrecy, whispered about in coin circles, and capable of trading hands today for more money than most people will ever see at once. The 1979 Lincoln penny with a tiny letter D stamped beneath its date looks ordinary. Millions were made, but hidden among them are mistakes so rare, so startling, that a single one can turn a forgotten coin jar into a vault of unimaginable wealth. Here's the truth most people don't know. 1979 was a year of transition at the U.S. Mint. New technology was colliding with old machines. Punches were wearing out. Dies were cracking. And in that chaos, strange misprints slipped past the mint's eyes. Double strikes, off-center cuts,
Misholigned mint marks.
Each one was a silent rebellion against perfection. And each one became a treasure map waiting for someone to discover. Collectors have been chasing these flaws for decades. One man in Denver, so the story goes, found a jar his grandfather left behind. Inside was a 1979 D penny, ordinary, he thought, until magnification revealed a double date. He sold it. The check he received could have bought him a house. That's the kind of discovery we're talking about. Ordinary Americans, not wealthy dealers, but people just like you. stumbling into fortune because they had the eyes to notice what everyone else ignored. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you handled change, shrugged, and tossed it aside? How many fortunes have passed through your fingers without you even knowing? What if the penny you dropped in a parking lot last week was worth more than a luxury car? Here's where the story gets stranger. The Denver Mint in 1979 was infamous for its overworked presses. Coins came out with faint details, ghost-like doubling, and even repunched mint marks where the D looks like it's wobbling. These are not printing quirks. They are treasure signals. And the right combination, strong doubling on the date or a dramatic off-center strike, can transform a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure masterpiece. But here's the danger. Most people, even some collectors, don't know what they're looking at. They mistake damage for rarity. They clean coins that should never be touched. And in that single careless act, they erase thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of dollars in value. So let me whisper to you the secret the mint will never broadcast. If you have a 1979 penny with a D mark, don't dismiss it. Hold it under good light. Look at the date. Does it appear doubled, bold, almost like a shadow behind the numbers? Check the mint mark. Does the D look punched twice, misaligned, or strangely fat? Is the coin struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design cut off? These are your clues. These are your golden keys. And here's what you must never do. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't try to make it shine. Leave it exactly as it is, because collectors pay for authenticity, not artificial beauty. If you find one that matches, place it in a protective sleeve and then, and only then, reach out to a professional grading service. Because right now, this isn't just pocket change. This is wealth disguised as copper. This is a lifeline that could change your family's story forever. And the truth is, these coins are still out there. In your drawers, in coffee cans, in garages, waiting in the silence of old collections where no one has looked for decades. So here's my question. Will you let them sit there, unrecognized, passed over for another generation? Or will you be the one to look closer, to notice what others miss, to claim what history hid inside the humblest coin of all? Check your change. Search your jars. Because right now, the 1979 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark is worth up to $879,000. And it could be sitting in your hand this very moment. Imagine holding a single penny that looks ordinary. Copper, worn edges, maybe even dull with age. You hand it over at the gas station, thinking nothing of it. But what if that tiny coin could have been the key to nearly $1 million? What if, without knowing, you let a once-in-a-lifetime treasure slip through your fingers? The story of the 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of the greatest numismatic mysteries in American history. A mistake so rare, so easily overlooked, that even lifelong collectors doubted it existed. Until one surfaced, and everything changed. Here's what they don't tell you. In 1981, the U.S. Mint was producing Lincoln cents in massive quantities, billions of them. Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, Denver coins bore a D, San Francisco an S. The process was ironclad, mechanical, unshakable, or so everyone believed. But somewhere, in the chaos of machinery, a fracture in the system gave birth to a coin that should never have existed. A penny without its expected mark. A silent outcast, hiding in plain sight. Now imagine the betrayal. Generations trusted the mint to get it right, to maintain order in the nation's currency. Yet here was proof that human error could slip past the watchful eyes of inspectors, creating a secret jackpot for whoever discovered it. The first collector who pulled this coin from circulation didn't even realize what they were holding at first. It looked normal, ordinary, until under a magnifying glass, the truth revealed itself. The mint mark that should have been stamped was gone, erased by error, and suddenly that penny became priceless. Think about this. How many of these coins could still be out there, buried in jars of change, sitting in shoeboxes of childhood collections, hiding in your kitchen drawer? Every time you run your fingers through old copper cents, you could be touching one of the most valuable mistakes in American money. The thought alone is enough to raise goosebumps. But here's the cruel twist. Most people never check. They spend their coins, roll them up, dump them at the bank, without realizing they might be holding generational wealth in the palm of their hand. And that is exactly why this story matters. Let me paint you a picture. It's 1981. Gas is just over $1 a gallon. Reagan has just taken office. The nation feels restless between old ways and new. In the background, the mint is pumping out pennies by the millions every single day. Workers don't stop to think that one misstep, one missing punch on a die, could create a legacy coin. A coin that, for decades later, collectors would fight over in secret auctions. And fight they did. When one finally sold, jaws dropped. A single Lincoln penny, no mint mark, no obvious glamour, no gold or silver. Yet it pulled in a value so staggering it shattered expectations. Nearly $900,000. For 1 cent. That's the kind of discovery that doesn't just change a bank account, it changes an entire life. Pause for a moment. Picture finding one yourself. What would you do? Would you sell it instantly? Would you hold it, protect it, pass it down to your children as a family heirloom worth a fortune? That's not just a coin. That's freedom. That's choice. That's power in your pocket. And the best part? You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. You just need to know where to look and what to look for. So here's the secret. Take any 1981 penny you have, maybe from your change jar, maybe from a forgotten roll in your attic. Place it under bright light and examine the spot just above the date, near the edge of Lincoln's portrait. If there is no mint mark at all, not a D, not an S, just blank, you may be staring at one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. But caution, don't confuse normal Philadelphia coins with this rarity. The true no mint mark error of 1981 has a very specific look. The mark wasn't simply omitted, it was meant to be there but failed to strike, leaving a subtle, haunting absence. That's what transforms an ordinary cent into a treasure. Collectors spend years studying these subtleties, but you don't have to. All you need is patience, a magnifying glass, and the willingness to believe that your pocket change could be the doorway to financial freedom. Because here's the final truth. Somewhere out there, this coin is still hiding. Could be in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're holding. Could be resting in a bank roll, untouched for decades. Could be sitting in your house right now, silent, waiting. And the value? Brace yourself. Right now, the 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $881,000. Nearly $1 million for a coin you could mistake for pocket change. So before you spend another penny, stop. Check. Look closer. Because the next coin you touch could be the one that changes everything. Imagine this. A coin so ordinary, so plain, that for 40 years people have tossed it into tip jars, laundromat machines, and grocery store registers without a second thought. A coin that looks like every other Lincoln penny, until one detail, one missing mark, transforms it from worthless copper to a fortune worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is not a rumor. This is not a tall tale. This is the secret of the 1982 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. But here's the twist. Most people who've ever held one didn't even realize it. They spent it. They let it slip through their fingers. And maybe, just maybe, you already have. Let's rewind to 1982. America was in the middle of change. The mint, in an effort to cut costs, began shifting the penny from solid copper to a copper-plated zinc. That single year, the humble 1-cent coin became a battlefield of transition. Copper versus zinc, large date versus small date, Philadelphia versus Denver. A storm of variations all mixed together. Out of that chaos came a mistake, a coin struck without its mint mark. To the naked eye, it looks normal. But to those who know, it's a hidden key to life-changing wealth. Think about this. Every coin is supposed to carry its identity, its origin, its little letter stamp from the mint. But in 1982, something slipped. The letter was missing. No D, no P, just silence. A blank where history should be. And in that silence lies value beyond reason. Why does it matter? Because errors are stories. They are human. They are proof that even in the most controlled system, flaws can break through. That tiny absence, the missing mint mark, isn't just a mistake. It's a fingerprint, a whisper from the past that says, I exist, and I am different. And difference is what collectors live for. Now picture this. A man pulls open a jar of coins he's been saving for years. He sifts through handful after handful, not expecting much. Then he sees it. Penny that feels heavier, looks slightly different. He notices the date, 1982. He squints. Where is the mint mark? It's not there. His heart stops. He holds what millions of Americans have unknowingly spent on chewing gum and bus fare. Except his is worth more than most houses. And this is where the fear kicks in. How many of these pennies have slipped past us? How many sat in our hands, rattled in our pockets, only to vanish back into circulation? How many of us traded away a treasure for a bag of chips? That's the part that hurts. The thought that freedom, wealth, escape could have been ours if only we'd looked closer. So how do you know if you have one? First, find the year, 1982. But here's the trick. Not every 1982 penny is valuable. There were multiple varieties. The one you're hunting is the Philadelphia no mint mark small date struck on solid copper. Hold it. Weigh it. A genuine copper cent from 1982 weighs about 3.1 grams. Zinc weighs less, just 2.5. That difference can mean the difference between pocket change and generational wealth. Look closely. The 2 in the date should have a sharp, distinct curl at the bottom. That's your sign it's the small date. And if there's no mint mark at all, you may be staring at a miracle. This is not theory. It's reality. Today, collectors are paying staggering sums for confirmed examples. We're not talking hundreds. We're not talking thousands. Right now, the market has valued this rare penny at up to $882,000. Imagine finding one, tucked between nickels at the bottom of a drawer. Imagine your next trip to the coin jar in your kitchen being the turning point of your entire life. So here's the question. Will you check? Will you dare to search through your change with new eyes? Or will you let another fortune slip away unnoticed, like so many before you? Because somewhere, right now, there is a 1982 penny with no mint mark sitting in a dusty jar, waiting for the one person who cares enough to recognize it. Maybe that person is you. Maybe it's been waiting for you all along. And here's the final truth. This is not just about money. It's about possibility. It's about hope. It's about finding proof that even the smallest, humblest things can carry extraordinary power. And if a penny can hold the weight of a fortune, maybe, just maybe, you're holding more potential in your own hands than you ever believed. Check your coins. Check them now. Because right now, this exact penny is worth up to $882,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment.